Today we're headed to the southeast corner of Kansas to the historic town of Humboldt, Kansas. In the 19th century, Humboldt, originally an American settlement named after Baron von Humboldt, was established in 1857. The colony's formation began during the winter of 1856 and 1857 when Germans migrated from Hartford, Connecticut, organized the community. They arrived in Lawrence, Kansas in March of 1857 and settled at this town site. Orland Thurston, a young attorney, moved to Humboldt during the summer of 1857, where he established a steam sawmill and commenced the construction of houses on the prairie side of town. The first frame building, which is credited to J.A. Coffey, was erected, and in May of 1958, W.C. O'Brien opened the county's first grist mill. The inaugural church, built by the United Brethren denomination, was completed in 1859. Some of the more historical events that occurred in Humboldt occurred during the Civil War. We'll hear about that a little bit more, but here's just a brief summary of what happened. In 1861, Humboldt faced an attack by border ruffians and Osages led by John Allen Matthews from Oswego, Kansas. This resulted in the recapturing of several recently freed African Americans. The Humboldt Home Guard, in conjunction with the Kansas 6th Cavalry under Commander James G. Blunt, counterattacked that led to Matthews' death in a battle on September 18, 1861. The village of Humboldt was officially organized in 1867 and attained city status as a city on February the 28th, 1870. In October of that same year, the Leavenworth, Lawrence, and Galveston Railroad was extended through Humboldt. Later, it operated as part of the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad during the 20th century and is currently managed by the South Kansas and Oklahoma Railroad. Humboldt served as the Allen County seat for 7 years from 1858 to 1865 until Iola, Kansas assumed that position. Although Humboldt had won two contentious legislative elections in 1858 and 1860 to secure that seat, a post-Civil War election in 1865 led to the relocation of the county seat to Iola. Humboldt residents questioning the legitimacy of the election, citing low turnout due to soldiers engaged in the war. Some claimed the county seat was stolen. Despite Humboldt's accusations, Iola secured the seat by donating 100 lots to the county for public building construction and raising funds to construct a courthouse. Humboldt, however, was not without controversy, as Lieutenant Colonel Charles W. Blair temporarily replaced Major Henry C. Haas, the commander of the post at Humboldt, to prevent soldiers from illegally voting in the county seat election. These types of county seat disputes of this nature were common in Kansas as well as in the entire American West. Humboldt played a significant role in the American Civil War, experiencing raids and actively participating in defensive measures. On September 1st of 1861, Confederate raiders targeted the town, seizing property and kidnapping 8 free black slaves, potentially subjecting them back into slavery. While there were reports of injuries from gunfire, fortunately no fatalities occurred. Pursuing the raiders, authorities successfully tracked down many, leading to the death of one of the leaders, Colonel John Allen Matthews. In response to the threat of further attacks, 2 Home Guard companies were formed in the Humboldt area. These militia units aimed to safeguard the town and patrol as far south as the Kansas Indian Territory border to deter Confederate forces. Some militia members were involved in pursuing the raiders from September. To fortify the town, structures such as the O'Brien's Mill and W. Curdy's dry goods stores were reinforced. Remarkably, Humboldt fell victim to another raid on October 14, 1861, just a month and a half after the initial attack. Caught off guard, the town's 100 home guards surrendered to the 330 raiders, resulting in the burning of O'Brien's Mill and much of the town. Although the W. Curdy store survived, it played no further role in Humboldt's defenses. This second raid was partially attributed to revenge for the death of Matthews and the actions of U.S. Senator James H. Lane and his brigade's destruction of Osceola, Missouri. Following the second raid, Humboldt took security threats seriously. Local militia units operated at times, and for much of the Civil War period, Army troops were stationed within town. This army post was officially referred to as Post Humboldt. A blockhouse was partially constructed here on 3rd Street, which served as the local militia's headquarters and recruiting office. Various locations in town were utilized by the military, with the German Settlers' Church on Bridge Street serving as the post quartermaster store. On the west side of town, many cabins were constructed along the east side of the Neosho River. This was known as Logtown or Camp Hunter. When the cabins exceeded capacity, tents were pitched at the camp. Today, only the German church remains, converted into a private residence in the 1950s, which still preserves a piece of Humboldt's military history. A little bit later on in the Civil War, in October of 1864, the region faced a significant threat from a large raid sweeping through Missouri and Kansas. Major General Sterling Price led the Confederate raiders, prompting the deployment of many troops and militia to confront the imminent danger here in this eastern part of Kansas. Concurrently, tensions rose between Major Haas, who was commanding the troops, and Major Watson Stewart, who was overseeing the militia, regarding the extent of Haas's jurisdiction. Haas sought control over the militia, leading to a dispute with Stewart. Despite the militia maintaining its independence, Haas succeeded in arresting one of the militia's officers. The military presence at Humboldt Post continued until June of 1865, about a month or so after the end of the Civil War, and it's possible that some of the presence of the military extended into July or maybe August of that same year. Upon the withdrawal of troops from the town, the utilization of military structures also ceased. Humboldt then went on to become a very important part of the agricultural industry here in this part of Kansas, and still remains an agricultural center today. I hope you've enjoyed this Wandering Walks of Wonder tour here in historic Humboldt, Kansas. If you've been to Humboldt, leave a comment on what your impressions are of the town, or leave a comment on some of the stories that we talked about and what you thought about Humboldt's role in the Civil War. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and we will see you on our next Wandering Walks of Wonder adventure. Take care now. Bye bye.